Hello, my name is Vivian, and this is my bone video for the axial skeleton. I'm going to point out the cranial bones and different kind of facial bones and the ribs and other stuff. So first, the cranial bones. There are 8 cranial bones. The first one is the frontal, right here, which is your forehead. The second one is the parietal. It's the one that's right here. It's the superior area. Then the occipital, which is the one behind, that's the occipital. And the external occipital protuberance. This is right here, that little ridge right there. This is a site for muscle attachment. So that's what it does. And the temporal area, your temples, right here. Right here is your temporal area. Externally, the temporal area has some kind of joints and other stuff. Okay guys, this is the temporomandibular joint right here. Then this is the styloid process, and this is the mastoid process right here. And for the external acoustic meatus, we can just see it somewhere. Hold on. As I was saying, this is the external acoustic meatus right around here, and the squamous part is right around this side. Okay? For the internal view, I'm gonna take off this. I had to put tape on it because it wouldn't stick. Take off the tape. Hold on. Okay. So for the internal view, the petrous part of the temporal bone, it's right around. Hold on. Okay, continuing on. This is the inside of the skull cavity. Actually, this for the petrous parts of the temporal bone, I'm just gonna use it like this. It's within, hold on, where is my pen? This is not very like detailed as the other one, but it's somewhere around this side and this side on both sides. And the structures here are usually the middle and internal ear cavities. And within this, there's also the internal acoustic meatus. It's an opening somewhere around this side. And what it does is the cranial nerves 7 and 8, they pass through this. You know, it's good for the hearing and things like that. And we'll go now to the sphenoid bone. Sphenoid bone. It's right next to the temporal. So right around here, that's where your sphenoid bone is. Externally, it has a lot of orbital parts, like right here. Actually, sphenoid, you can see it's right here too. It's a lot of orbital parts. There's a superior orbital fissure. It's somewhere. Okay, the superior orbital fissure, it's better if I show you internally. It's somewhere around here. This is like our sphenoid bone. So it's somewhere around here. And this area is where the cranial nerves 3, 6, and 4 passes through, going to the brain. And internally, I can show you the lesser wing. The lesser wing is around here, then followed by the greater wing. Then optic canal comes in somewhere around here. It's the optic canal, and it houses the cranial nerve number 2, which is the optic nerve. And within this area is the sella turcica, which houses the pituitary gland or the hypophysis. So I found a better way, guys, to actually point out the sites. As I was talking earlier, we're going to ethmoid bone now, and I'm going to show you where the cristagalli is and the cribriform plate. The cristagalli is this area right here, and the cribriform plate is the one around it right here. For the cristagalli, this helps secure the brain to the cranial activity. So it basically holds the brain, make sure it doesn't you know, it's there, it's not gonna stick or anything. And the cribriform plate, the filaments of the olfactory nerve passes through there. So olfactory nerve is for our sense of smell, so we can smell food, good food, and flowers and stuff like that. So this is where it passes through, going to the, it's actually to the brain to send some signals and receptors. Now we're going to talk about sutures in the brain. We have different kinds of sutures. This is the coronal suture. It binds the temporal suture with the parietal suture. The frontal suture with the parietal suture. Then this right here in the middle is the sagittal suture. It connects the parietals and to the frontal bone. And right here by the occipital is the squamous suture. It connects the occipital with the parietals. And we have the squamous suture right here. It connects the temporal bone with the frontal and then the sagittal. Those are our sutures. And now we're going to talk about facial bones. So we're going to start with the maxilla. This is our maxilla right here. It's basically the front. It's our maxilla. Then nasal, of course, the nose. The zygomatic, right here are cheekbones. The zygomatic is formed by the temporal and the frontal bone together. So those are the two prominent bones in the zygomatic. Then the ethmoid bone. Okay, the ethmoid bone. The ethmoid bone is right next to the lacrimal bone, just right here. And we have the vomer, this one, that's our vomer. Two bones that form the nasal septum is the vomer actually, and then the ethmoid bone. So those are the two that forms the nasal septum. And then we also have the inferior nasal concha. Okay, for the inferior nasal concha, it's within the nasal cavity. It's the largest of three conchae. It actually, what it does is when we breathe in air through our nose, it helps moisten it and warms it as it enters our body, and for the lungs to clean it out. So it's one of the most important things because it has mucus to warm and dump and make the air that we breathe in very moist, and you know, so we don't have dry nose and things like that. So that's what it does. And we're going to the mandible now. This is the mandible. Okay, this is our mandible. I'm gonna take this off right now. I'm gonna show you the mandible. This is the mandible. This is the body. Right here is the body. Right here is the body of the mandible. Then the ramus is this area right here. That's the ramus right here. This area is the ramus. Then the angle is it's like the right angle. That's the angle of the mandible. And then the mandibular condyle, it's within, I have to open this up. Okay, for the mandibular condyle, it's this one. When we take it off, it's that part. That's the mandibular condyle. Then we also have the mandibular notch. It's right here. This is the notch. And then the coronoid process. The coronoid process is this part. It's the part that's very pointy. That's the mandibular. Oh no, that's the coronoid process, Okay. Now we're gonna go to the vertebral column, or our spinal column, right here. Yeah, this one. Let's see, it's arched. That's one of its signatures, the arch. The four curves. This is a curve for the cervical curve, then the thoracic, then the lumbar curve, and then there's also the sacral curve. Actually, the cervical and the thoracic, they're convex shape, while the lumbar and then the sacral area, they're concave. So you see the shape. Okay, correction, I kind of switched them up. Actually, the cervical and the lumbar are the ones that are concave, and the thoracic and the sacral are the ones that are convex. Concave means it's inside, convex means like it's out. So just a correction for that one. Okay, we're going to the cervical vertebrae. These are the first ones. This makes up our like the back of our necks actually. There are 7 of them, but the most popular one are the C1 and the C2. C1 is the atlas. It's the one that carries like our head actually, and it is from the superior. It's attached to the occipital condyle of the skull, so it carries the weight of the skull. And what it can do is say yes, it can nod. Because of C1, we can nod. For the transverse processes of the cervical vertebrae, they're actually special than the thoracic and the other ones, because the cervical vertebrae, the transverse processes, they contain a foramen, the transverse foramen, where all the vertebral arteries and the nerves pass through to go to the brain first, when they send a signal for the brain to analyze it. So that's one of the reasons why they're special. And also one of the things that makes them important is because they have no intervertebral discs, and they also don't have any spinous process, so you don't see a lot of like this one right here. Get my pen like this. You don't see a lot of the protrusions. They don't have that. And if you can see, they're very, very small and thin compared to the large lumbar or the end of the thoracic. They're very, very large. That's because they're not carrying much of the weight as the lumbar vertebrae. They're carrying the head. I mean, it has weight, but it's not as much as our whole body. So that's why they look like that, because of their special function. Now we go to the thoracic vertebrae. There are 12 thoracic vertebrae, and as you can see, even in the front, I'll show you. As it goes down, it becomes thicker. That's because this part of us carry more weight than the head. So that's one of the reasons. And I'm gonna show you, this is the spinous process. It's like the knobby thing. That's the spinous process. The transverse process is the one on the side. Those are the right here. Those are the transverse process. Intravertebral foramen is basically it's right here. It's that little gap that you see right there, right here. That's where the arteries, or the nerve, not the arteries, but like the nerves pass. That's why you can feel, or that's where the spinal cord passes to, and that's why the spinal column protects it. It's encased in there. And basically what passes to the foramen is our spinal nerves. So when we feel something, it goes right to the brain. That's like basically their passageway. The body, or the centrum, I can't really show you the inside, but this is the body right here. That's the body of vertebral column. And then position of the intervertebral disc, it's actually in between these.